You Sober? I am the host, Sam, a sober alcoholic, and I am so glad that you're all here again for a new story this week. First of all, I have been really terribly sick, so I'm sorry that the past couple podcasts have not come out in their normal time. I have been fighting bronchitis and developing pneumonia. So it has been a week of just me trying to get better and feel better and be better. So I just wanted to thank you all for your patience with all of that. This week, I am really excited about my interview with Kensley. Kensley is from South Carolina, and her story is quite fantastic. She made me aware of a new group that is called Ben's Friends. We don't actually talk about it during the interview, but she wanted me to make sure that I mention this because Ben's Friends is a coalition of sober food and beverage people committed to their sobriety in an industry filled with drugs, alcohol, and stress. Each of us has found or is seeking sobriety and a way to deal with our careers and a life in a sane and purposeful fashion. We are here to share together how we do it and provide those seeking sobriety with the tools and the community needed to find it. Our only purpose is to help each other find freedom from the bondage of our addiction. That is from their website. And this group is called bensfriendshope.com. Again, that is bensfriendshope.com. So if you are somebody who is in the food and beverage industry and are looking to get some support in being sober, I highly recommend going out here and looking at this website and reading the story and finding maybe meetings near you of people who are participating in this. Like I said, I love hearing stories about how people got sober in different ways, and this is a new way to me, and I was so excited to promote this and share this with people out here in the community. So sit back. I hope you enjoy Kensley's story, and let's do the serenity prayer. Good and gracious friend, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Welcome to the podcast, Why Are You Sober? I'm so glad you volunteered to do this.
People ask me this a lot, and my intention was not to get sober, I guess.
Yeah.
And now looking, I'm just a better person when I don't drink, for myself, for my husband, my friends, coworkers, everyone. But when it started, me and my husband were just dating at the time, and we were both drinking way too much. And he was just like, we're not going to work if we don't quit drinking. So we quit drinking. I thought we were going to quit for a couple weeks, a month, 2 months, and get back to it. So when I quit drinking, I did not think it was going to be permanent, but 2.5 later, here we are. Wow.
Okay. So let's go back. So, where did you grow up?
Anderson, South Carolina.
Okay.
It's Greenville, Clemson area.
Yeah. So you've lived in South Carolina your whole life?
Yes.
I love it. Yeah. So what was growing up like for you? What was parents, family, all that kind of stuff?
My parents are still together. I have 2 sisters, one older, one younger.
Middle child like
just
me.
But middle class. I never wanted for anything. I didn't have a terrible childhood by any means.
Yeah.
I was definitely more the black sheep, but.
Okay. Well, and what do you mean by that?
My parents are very white picket fence, keeping up with the Joneses, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There was one time in high school, I put Manic Panic, the temporary colored purple hair dye in my hair, and my dad freaked out and had to go stay with a friend for a couple days till my mom came and got me. So
oh my gosh,
that was just different. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that seems kind of extreme, that.
A little bit, yeah.
Do you feel like that was that kind of, I don't want to say punishment, but consequences? Was that typical consequences for you, kind of just stretching as a teenager?
That's like the only time I can really remember I did, because I knew that I needed to like stay in this little box, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh no, it totally makes sense. I grew up a preacher's kid, so I totally get the having to feeling like you have to live in this little box.
Yeah. My grandfather, my dad's dad, was a preacher, but like my parents didn't go to church. Like we didn't go to church growing up. So it was just we were like holiday people, like Easter and Christmas.
Yeah. So it was more just like like you said, keeping up with the Joneses type of thing. Like yeah, peer pressure and stuff. So but when did you start experimenting with substances? Like, was alcohol the only thing that you were kind of doing, or did you try anything else?
I think I was in 8th or 9th grade the like first time I drank. And like I would like kind of drink a little bit like on the weekends or like at a friend's house or like, but nothing crazy. And then I like quit drinking for probably like 10th grade until I don't know, I was like 19 or 20. But in high school, like I started like the people I was hanging out with, they went to church a lot, and so I'd start going to like youth group and like stuff with them in church on Sundays.
Yeah.
And so I quit drinking for a little bit, and like I wouldn't even say it was like a problem in high school.
Yeah, it was just like typical like experimenting.
Yeah, and stuff. Just like testing the waters kind of thing.
Did you ever like go overboard, get drunk, or get like have an experience where you were like, I don't feel quite right, or anything like that?
I never really like pushed it that far. Okay. Like we just like have a couple drinks, get giggly, that kind of thing. It wasn't ever like a house party. It would just be like me and like a couple girls having a sleepover at someone's house.
Yeah, and just kind of like and diving into the parents' stuff and just like messing around.
For sure, and like putting it in this little plastic like Dasani water bottle and like hiding it in your overnight bag.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the things we do to hide alcohol.
Yeah. You get there, someone be like, okay, I have a little bit of gin, and then someone's got like peach schnapps and like Burnett's whatever flavor vodka, just all this random stuff.
And like mix it and add it to soda and do whatever.
Yeah.
So you graduate high school, you go into college? Did you go to college?
Yeah, I played volleyball for a year at North Greenville University.
Okay.
Which is kind of where I like fell away from it's a Southern Baptist university. Like their slogans were Christ makes the difference.
Okay. Yeah.
But like I had to take my nose piercing out. Like girls couldn't. There was like a dress code. You couldn't like go over the like curb in front of the opposite sex's dorm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I had chapel 3 times a week for a grade. Like if I didn't go, it would affect my GPA.
Oh, I went to a Christian college in New England, and I also had to go to chapel. And yes, I remember that too. 3 times a week. We fortunately at my school, we did have like 3 or 4 absences we were allowed to take. So
yeah, we had maybe like 3 a semester or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It was still just like an hour of your day. Like in the, I don't know. It was just too like shoved down my throat. And
so you didn't grow up with like, you didn't have religious parents. So what drove you to go to a religious college?
It was not my first choice. I actually wanted to go to Brevard. But it was out of state, so it was a lot more expensive. So just like cost wise, I didn't really want to play volleyball in college, but my parents were like, play for 1 year and then you can go wherever you want.
Okay.
And out of the places that had offered me scholarships, that one was going to be the cheapest on top of like academic scholarships and stuff like that.
Okay. So you just kind of like took it as like the best economic sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you stay there for all 4 years or?
No, I went there for a year, and then I was dating a guy that I'd met after I graduated high school, and he was at the Citadel in Charleston. So after I did my 1 year at North Greenville. I transferred to College of Charleston.
Cool. Okay. And what did you, and so then when you transferred there, what happened? Like how did life suddenly change?
I guess I was in a way maybe making up for like not being able to exactly be who I was when I was like living at home with my parents. But I started working, and I like worked summer jobs at like restaurants and stuff. But I started working at a restaurant when I moved down here just to like have money, you know, pay some, like I had money saved up for rent for the first year I was down here. But so I got a part-time job at a restaurant. I was 19. Charleston's a massive drinking town.
Yes, it is. I have spent some time there. So.
Yeah, and then the food and beverage community is definitely substance abuse prone, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it totally is. I think that is really true anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just like it started out innocent. Like I get off work, I have a drink with my friends. Like you have a good shift, you're gonna sit down and have a drink. You have a bad shift, you're gonna sit down and have a drink. Like it's a Tuesday, you're gonna sit down and have a drink.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that just kind of spiraled.
Yeah. And by spiraling, what do you mean by that?
It's just like normal. Like the people I'm serving are drinking. I see the same people every day. Like all of my friends that are my coworkers, like they're drinking almost every day.
Yeah. And
it seemed like that's what everyone was doing. So like, why wouldn't I be doing that? Kind of thing.
Yeah. But did it start to get, like, did you feel like it started to interfere with stuff? Was it becoming a problem?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when exactly it got, like, pretty bad. So I graduated from College of Charleston, like, finished, got my degree. My degree was in education. I student taught. I hated every second of it. And said, I'm not doing this. But it's also hard when I'm making 2-3 times more, like bartending.
Yeah, yeah.
Serving people drinks.
Yeah, to be like, why would I give up this money for this really crappy salary?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I switched restaurants. I moved to quit the first job I worked at, went to start working at a different restaurant. It's a sports bar. And that was kind of when, like, I was exposed to cocaine. And so we'd, like, start doing that every now and then.
Okay.
And it was just, it just happened. I don't know. Like, it was, I'd get up, I'd go to work, I'd work all day, I'd get off, I'd get drunk. We'd split an 8-ball between however many people so we could stay up and drink more. And then you'd go to bed at 4 a.m., wake up, feel like crap, take a bump, like chug a drink, another like alcoholic drink to get your body like back to where it was, and then go back to work and do it all over again.
Yeah. So you said you're married, right?
Yes.
So when did you meet your husband?
It would have been 2017.
Okay.
I was bartending at a restaurant downtown. He lived in Georgia at the time, and the place I was working was like a big brunch spot, and him and his buddies came and sat at my bar because it was the place that opened earliest that served alcohol.
Yeah, okay.
And they sat there for like 4 or 5 hours, got hammered. He kept asking for my number. His name is Brian. I just gotten out of a terrible relationship with a Brian. I was like, I don't do Brians.
Of course.
So I'm not giving you my number. And then right before they left, his buddy was like, come on, like, give me your number so I can give it to my boy. And I said my number as fast as I possibly could, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the next day, his buddy texted me and was like, "Hey, is this the bartender?"
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "Yeah." So I definitely didn't think they were hammered. Like, I was like, "There's no way he's gonna remember."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Let me give my boy your number." So I was like, "That's fine." But he lived in Georgia, and like we just kind of like talked on and off. Like when he was in town, we'd hang out. Like we'd have 6 months of like hanging out and this, that, and the third, and then like we wouldn't talk for a couple months, and I don't know. He was always right person, wrong time, but like he didn't live here at the time.
Okay. And where was this in the midst of like your drinking and using substances that he walked in?
I met him right after I got my first DUI.
Okay.
So I was in the thick of it.
So no, I mean, if you want to talk, I mean, I got a DUI. That's how I like ended up starting to get sober. So do you mind talking about that?
Yeah. I'd gotten off work, drinking with everybody, having a great time. We decided to go to this other bar on the other side of town, get there, drinking with everybody, still having a great time. And it was time to go home, and in my brain, I thought I could make it home, and I surely did not, and I T-boned another car at a red light, totaled my 4Runner. Thankfully, like, nobody was hurt. I don't know how nobody was hurt. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, had to call my parents because that was my phone died and they took me to jail. Had to call my parents because that was the only phone number I knew was my mom. So I'm calling my parents at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh gosh.
Crying, telling them I'm in jail.
Yeah.
They drive down from Anderson. They're there when I get out the next day. I like have a conversation with them. My dad thinks I need to move back home. Like I have a drinking problem, and I'm like, I won't drink for 30 days. Like if I can't not drink for 30 days, then obviously I have a problem. I think I made it like 26 or so.
Wow.
I didn't tell them that, but
yeah. But that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And so what were you feeling after that? Like you were like, no, I don't have a problem. I just was overdoing it.
Yeah, no, that was exactly my line of thought. I don't have a problem.
And,
like I shouldn't have drove, but like it was a mistake.
Yeah. And so were your friends and stuff like also kind of saying that too? Like, don't worry about it. Like, it's okay. Like other people have gotten it. It's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Like a bunch of people in the food and bev industry like get DUIs. You have regulars that get DUIs. Like it's not the most uncommon thing.
Yeah.
We all seem to ignore the fact that I totaled my car and could have killed people.
Yeah, absolutely. So you go through the DUI process, you know, and then you meet your future husband and all that stuff. So where do you go from there? What happens after that?
Just still drinking all the time. I stopped doing cocaine. My lease was up in an apartment that I was at, and I went home for the summer because I knew if I was in Anderson, I wouldn't know where to get it. And like, I would never seek it out, but like if it was available, then like I'll throw money in and split a ball with. Like
Yeah.
So it's been probably like 5-6 years since I've done that. Come back to Charleston, bartending, making all the money, blowing all the money.
Yeah. Now,
and it was just like an everyday thing.
Yeah. So at that point, I'm just wondering, was it like really just the cocaine that you were like, that's the thing that's the problem. That's the thing I have to get rid of.
That was probably my thought process.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
Or like, that's better than, I can rationalize anything. Like I could rationalize a drink like nobody's business. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. But you were like, cocaine, yeah, probably shouldn't be doing that. Like, okay, that's a bit extreme.
Right. Well, like cocaine's illegal. Alcohol's not illegal.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, exactly.
Alcohol's the norm. Like, and it's really like romanticized in our society.
Yeah. I know. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it kind of crazy on this side to think about how alcohol isn't illegal? I'm like, it kind of blows my mind sometimes, but.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Or like, it's a carcinogen and like all these terrible things.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you that. They tell you, you drink this, you go have a good time.
Exactly.
You have a bad day, like drink this, it'll make your day better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're sad, drink this, it'll help.
So
you want to have fun, drink this. Like it's presented as a solution almost.
Yeah, and it's presented as the greatest coping mechanism.
Yeah.
You know, like you were saying at the beginning, like you have a great shift, you have a drink. You have a bad shift, you have a drink. Like just so where now where does this all lead you guys? Like when did you guys decide to get married and like all of that kind of stuff? And what happened like during COVID?
My husband eventually moves to Charleston.
And is that for work or?
He was here visiting friends the first time he was here, and his buddy got him a job. So yeah, it was for work, but also just to be in Charleston, I guess.
Just a new adventure in life.
Yeah. And like by no means were we dating or talking every day. Like it was like get drunk, hang out, like I don't know. Like I always like so my husband's black. I knew my parents would hate this.
Oh,
so that was another reason I always kept him at like an arm's distance.
Okay.
And it took me a really long time to like realize that like what my parents thought or their reaction shouldn't play a part in who I'm with.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
It totally does. It totally does. I mean, I feel like that is a large reason why I was using substances as a coping mechanism, was really thinking through like what my family and friends thought of me, of choices and stuff, and not wanting to confront that almost. Like I definitely was not a huge confrontational person. So when I have to think about it, it drives the anxiety up the wall in me. And so like things like those situations would make me go, no, I'm just not going to tell my parents about this for a while. Like I'm just not going to, So.
And like my friends all knew him. My friends loved him. I knew my sisters wouldn't care. I didn't really think my mom would care. But it was always like dad's house, dad's rules. Like growing up, if we were like dating someone or like had started seeing someone, my dad's first question was always, is he white?
Oh gosh. Okay. So
and then after that you get the what does he do for work, like does he have good grades, like whatever, depending on how old we were.
But it always started out with race for him.
Yeah, that was always the first question.
So I mean, that's pretty. So how I mean, do you feel that obviously I hate to ask this question, but that your father's racist? I mean, pretty
for sure.
Yeah.
Prejudiced, racist. I know people like define those terms a little differently, but
and so do you feel like you were pushing against that a lot in your life of those types of ideals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it be like me putting temporary purple in my hair or like getting tattoos once I moved out or what have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it wasn't like I'm going to get this tattoo to piss off my dad. Like that's just something I wanted to do. I just knew that it would be something he didn't approve of. Yeah,
but it was, you were stretching and like, seeing and pressing the boundaries. And also like kind of defining yourself and being like, your opinion doesn't really matter. You can have it and you are welcome to it, but I don't care about it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I asked my dad one time at like the Thanksgiving table. This is before I even met my husband, just because I was just always the one that would kind of like poke the bear, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this is when I lived in Charleston. I'd come home from the holidays. I can't remember what he said, and I was just like, "Would you rather me date a white man that treated me like shit, like beat me, this, that, and the third, or a black man that treated me perfectly?" And my dad looked at me and said, "I can't answer that question."
Oh gosh, yeah, that's.
Um,
So then, how did you finally broach that with them? How did you get them there?
I didn't really. Me and Brian started dating. And I posted a picture of us on Instagram, and I wasn't like, oh, my boyfriend, oh, whatever. And I didn't think my dad had an Instagram, so like it's easy to hide things when you live 4 hours away from your parents.
Yes, yes, it is.
But apparently my dad did have an Instagram, and he did see it. And he called me raising hell. And it was, I can't even remember exactly what was being said.
Yeah.
But it was not nice.
Yeah.
And I felt like my mom was kind of in the middle of it for sure for a while. So I stopped talking to my dad. I kind of talked to my mom for a little bit on and off for like a year or so. We eventually just kind of like fell apart. I would go home and like stay at my sister's house, and we would do like a weird like half Christmas where my mom would come over. It was just, that was too painful. So I really haven't talked to my parents for 4 or 5 years.
Gosh, man.
At this point, my dad will randomly like call me or something, but the last time he called me, I answered the phone, and it was along the lines of, "I just wanted to call and let you know that as long as you're with a black man, I can't be in your life." So.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm at peace with it now. Like, I've been seeing the same therapist for like 8 years. She's great. It is what it is, I guess. But that definitely prompted a lot of heavy drinking when it like first all happened. Because I didn't want to have to think about it or deal with it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was just so drunk all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it. So then you guys decide to get married. And what was that like?
Well, first we decided to get sober.
Okay. Good. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Your story. Yeah. So when was that in all of this then?
August 2023, 4. Yeah, August 2022. Sorry. I have to do the math.
Yeah. And
we were living together, like we'd bought a house, but we were just, all we were doing was drinking, like get off work, go out, have $150 bar tab, come home. Like we would go through 3 or 4 handles of vodka between the two of us at the house every week, plus like a random bottle of tequila here or there.
My gosh, yeah. There you go.
I didn't even realize how bad he was drinking. Like I thought I was drinking more than him, but like where he was working at the time, there was a bar next door, and he would just leave and like he would just do shots all day, like on his shift. And then we would go out when he got off, and I was just like, oh, he's a lightweight. Like, how is he so drunk? Just not realizing like how much he was drinking.
Yeah.
It was like, that was just all we did, was just drink and get drunk.
So then who brought up like, okay, I think we need to stop, or how did that conversation come up?
He like kind of broke down and was like, I have to change, like I'm depressed, like that kind of thing. If we're gonna work, then like we can't drink, like he would bring it up randomly, like the next day, and just be like, I've got to stop drinking. I've got to stop drinking. And so he kind of broke up with me and went and moved out and was living with a coworker in her spare room for a while. But he was just like, we're not going to work if we don't quit drinking. He's like, I'm going to like kill myself if I don't quit drinking, kind of thing. And I was totally supportive of that. So like, I also quit drinking.
Yeah. So you were like, were you hesitant about it at first? Were you like, no,
I didn't want to quit drinking. I was having a great time.
Yeah.
I thought I was having a great time. This is like 2 weeks after I got my second DUI.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah. But like, that wasn't in my head. Like I didn't have a problem.
Yeah. You still were like, no, I'm good. I got this. Yeah.
Like the 3-4 days, like while I was waiting to get my temporary driver's license that you can get in South Carolina after you get a DUI, I wasn't driving. I was Ubering. So I was just drinking even more because I knew I didn't have to drive.
Yeah, exactly. So then what finally brought you over to being like, okay, I'll do it. Like, I'll get sober.
I've just always loved him so much. And I didn't think that we were going to actually stay sober. Like, I thought we were just going to quit for a couple months, 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Along those lines. But we both quit. He moved back into our house probably like 6 months or so after. And like, he would still come over and stay sometimes and whatever. But that year after we quit drinking, there was a lot of growth, and it wasn't always the easiest.
Yeah.
But
and did you guys do anything like to help you get sober? Like, did you go to any meetings, or were you seeing a therapist, or like anything?
I had been seeing the same therapist since 2017.
Okay.
And he had started to see a therapist. He didn't like his therapist, so I drug him to see my therapist with me one day, and now he's been seeing her regularly too for the past 2.5 years.
Okay, that's awesome.
Or 2 years. Yeah, no, she's great. And Tracy Millett.
And so you came to her. Did you go to her and be like, "Hey, so we decided that we're going to get sober"?
No, I was just like, I'm not drinking right now, is what I would say.
Awesome. Okay. And how did she respond to that? Was she like, great?
This is the lady that's been telling me for years that I need to stop drinking. Okay. Or like work on my drinking.
Yeah. And so she was like, finally.
Probably. But I mean, like, over the years, like, I'd tried stuff with her. Like, I did the 30 days, which ended up being like 26 days or whatever, no drinking. We tried like no shots, or like only have 3 or only have 1. Yeah. And I could do it for a little bit and like work on my drinking, but then it would just get right back up to where it was.
Well, it sounds like she was pretty great because she wasn't pushy, but she was just kind of walking with you and letting you kind of lead the way. But she was like trying to influence you on how to help you. So, for sure. Yeah. So it sounds good. So so that's great. So you guys basically just did it yourselves. You guys just were like, we're just not going to drink. Did it cold turkey. Yeah.
And like, I'd been to an AA meeting after my first DUI. That was the homework my therapist gave me. She was like, go to AA meeting, like, see what you think. Yeah. And it was terrible. Yep. I hated it. Yep. They called on me to talk. Yeah. And I was just like, no. Yeah. And like, obviously, like, I have a distant relationship from like the church and stuff. So like the higher power thing was always kind of weird to me. Yeah. Yeah. I remember the first meeting I went to, I also hated it. And that was before my DUI. I actually, like, at one point I was like, I think I might need to go to a meeting. And I did. And it was like the worst. And they also called on me and stuff. And I was like, I'm not doing this. This is terrible. But then after my DUI, I found a different meeting,
And it was there that like no one like forced me to talk. No one like no one bombarded me. Like they all kind of just let me like, you know, come out of my shell over a couple of different meetings. So that like definitely I was like, okay, this is a lot better. Like these people aren't so crazy. Like
yeah. And I've been to meetings like since I've gotten sober this last time. Like a girl I used to work with, like she's been sober for 5 years, and I like kind of reached out to her and was just like, hey,
awesome,
when I was a couple months into it and had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah,
I call it raw dogging sobriety. Just like just splitting drinking, have no idea what's going on. I'm just along for the ride.
That is definitely, yeah. And it's funny because I feel like I read a lot of those stories on like the subreddit Sober Curious, of people who are like, so I've been doing this for like 60 days. Now what?
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess I was kind of getting to that like now what part. She doesn't live here anymore, but she put me in touch with her sponsor, and I went to that meeting a couple of times, and it was great. It was all girls, like super chill at this one girl's house. They just let me go, let me sit. Like people would talk to me before or after the meeting, but like during the meeting, like nobody was calling on me or anything like that. So I think they're definitely like, you just have to find your people out there. That makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. So, and while you're going through this, how is Brian doing it? If you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. He has never been to an AA meeting, refuses to go, but just like,
it's not for him.
Yeah. The therapist was even like, why don't you try like a Zoom AA meeting kind of thing? And he was like, no.
Those are even worse. Like they're
and like I was getting very curious about it at this point. It's probably like 3-4 months into my sobriety, and I'm realizing that like it's not so terrible to not be drinking. The first couple months I was miserable, I was angry, nobody wanted to work with me. Like I was just so snappy and just mean. But once I started realizing like, oh, this isn't terrible, I like kind of dabbled in like smart recovery and just like just like looking at all these other like options. And I guess what like flipped the script for me is I took my dog and booked like an Airbnb in Asheville, and went, and I had this book called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace, and I read that book while I was in Asheville, and it just completely reframed my brain, how I think about alcohol, and that book definitely changed my life for sure.
That's
and I recommend it to anybody that asks me about like getting sober or anything like that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So
it was just very like not religious, like very like it gives you the facts.
Yeah, it keeps it simple.
Yeah, and that's just like how my brain works. Like I just want the facts.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So you guys get sober and then you guys get married.
We got married right like a year, almost 2 years after we quit drinking.
So you guys haven't been married that long?
No, we got married June 5th.
That's awesome.
This past year.
Congratulations.
So, how long? Thanks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I'm assuming you guys had a sober wedding.
We didn't even do a wedding.
Okay.
We just printed off the like marriage certificate. The guy that owns the gym I go to is ordained. We literally swung by the gym that I go to, and he like signed the paper for us.
That's
on like a random Tuesday at 3 p.m.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
I am like I still bartend. I'm around drunk people every day.
Yeah.
And that environment doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
All my friends still drink, not like our group as a whole has calmed down, but it's still, that environment doesn't bother me, but it definitely bothers Brian, my husband. Like he drank one time since we quit drinking, and it was at a wedding, just like social stuff like that. He does not thrive in, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
So
then, Kensley, why do you stay sober today?
I just like think back to like when I was drinking and just how miserable I was. I didn't think I was miserable at the time.
But now, yeah, hindsight's 20/20.
But I was, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny how once we get out of the fog, we can be like, wow, I was not happy.
Yeah. Like, I thought I was having a great time going out all the time, like this, that, and the third, but like I was miserable.
Yeah.
And just like being hungover and having to be around alcohol and like smell it is terrible.
Yeah, it makes me even feel nauseous right now.
Yeah,
like remembering that smell and that feeling, like.
Yeah, where I feel like my head is just like a pile of sand, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
like it was getting to where I would be like throwing up the next day. I'd be so hungover.
Yeah. So Kensley, what do you have to look forward to now? What are you looking forward to?
I mean, I don't like. That's a really great question, obviously, because I have no idea.
That's okay.
Me and my husband, we're talking about kids, maybe.
Yeah.
So like that might be in the future. But for now, I'm still like paying off credit card debt from when I was drinking.
Oh yeah. I know. So your thing is like you are looking forward to just being financially independent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, like all of our bills are paid. We can afford to do everything, but it'll be nice when I don't have the extra payments and
and you don't have the credit card, and you don't have the debt hanging over you.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you're going to suddenly wake up and be like, okay, I have new options in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. I actually enjoy my job bartending more now sober than I did when I was drinking, which is very interesting.
Oh, I know many sober bartenders who are like, I love it now. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, so I don't know.
Kensley, I want to thank you so much for coming out and telling your story to me, because it's awesome. And I love stories that are not typical and aren't just like, oh, and then I started going to meetings, and not that those aren't wonderful. Those are great stories, however anybody gets sober. But I love having stories for other people to hear that are, hey, you know what? This is how I did it. And because, there is no one way of getting there. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's because like people ask me, people get drunk at my bar and then they'll talk to me about being sober. It's kind of funny, but I'm just like, what works for like me isn't what worked for my friend, or like what worked for my husband, or this, that, and the other. Like and you might have to try a couple times. Who knows?
Yeah. But well, awesome. Well, thank you so much again. You were phenomenal. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And are you working tonight?
I am.
Well, then I hope you have a good shift. So.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kensley. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Bye.
Well, I just want to thank Kensley again for sharing her story with us and bringing us this new group called Ben's Friends that people can go out and seek. If they are looking for help and they work in the food and beverage industry, I highly recommend it. Next week, we're going to be listening to Zachary's story, and I can't wait to share that one as well. If you want to be on the podcast, you can look in the description and find all the ways to contact me. I would love to have you on and share your story. I've got a bunch more stories lined up to be sharing with people, so looking forward to doing that. Again, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'm wishing you all peace, love, and a whole lot of joy. Bye.